15 years, blowing the doors off the competition. Podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com.
Network Studios in the hub of the universe, the entertainment capital of New England, Boston, Massachusetts, USA. This is Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Hey everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to another edition of Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema number 661, day and date October 17th, 2021. Mm-hmm. And we are in the middle of our Screen Screams series for 2021. This year it is Silent Screams.
Yep.
We are talking silent films.
Yes.
Silent horror films.
Yes, we are.
As we head toward Halloween, which is 2 weeks from today. Yes, I know. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
You damn skippy hippie.
Ugh, you and your crossed Christmas songs.
Well,
okay.
it's Halloween in my head 24/7. So I mean, I'm not taking the whole song, just that one line of it. So,
I know. It's a good thing.
Would you rather I was hopping around the house singing "This Is Halloween" until yeah?
Not particularly, no.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Especially since I'm not fond of that movie or that song. So it's there you go.
So cram it. Anyway.
So we are doing all silent films this year. Kim's idea, which I thought was good because we haven't seen all of these.
No.
And so
far, I think everything we've seen has been really interesting.
Yep, we did The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which you can hear if you go back a couple weeks. Last week we did Phantom of the Opera, the silent edition with Lon Chaney Sr.
Yeah.
This week, we're going back to the German Expressionist stuff.
Yep.
What is it with the German Expression stuff and horror? I mean,
they knew how to do it really well.
Yeah, we're going to 1920 and the Gollum, how he came into the world, directed by Paul Wegener with Karl Boss, script co-written by Paul Wegener and Henrik Galeen, based on the 2015 novel by Gustav Meyrink.
Not 2015, 1915.
Did I say 2015?
You did.
I'm sorry. That would have been a hell of a prognostication. That would have been Nostradamus-style prognostication.
That's some time travel crap, and that's why I hate time travel crap, because it gives me a nosebleed.
This is all based on a Jewish legend.
Mm-hmm. This is actually... When you think about it, this is really interesting because out of the 3 films we've done so far for this series, this is the first film that is dealing with the supernatural. Because
you better call Sam and Dean Winchester then.
They already dealt with a Golem.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Episode Everybody Hates Hitler. I'm not making that up.
No, I know you're not. For those of you who would like to hear her archive of Platinum Roses. Platinum Roses Garden, go over to platinumrosesgarden.com and hear reviews of 11 seasons worth of
something like that.
Supernatural, plus the early days you had some CSI in there too. Why am I whistling? Jeez.
I don't know. But the first 2 films we saw, those were dealing with, people and the crazy crap that people do. I mean, we don't really know why the Phantom was the way he was. I mean, other than, possibly a very serious, birth malformation or whatever that made his face like that. But this is the first film where we're dealing with genuine magic, the supernatural, occult stuff. And oh my gosh, are we dealing with it with this movie? Wow.
Now, for those of you guys who have not seen some of the early silent German expressionist stuff, it is a mind-blowing experience.
Strap yourself in. It's amazing.
The best known, I think, of all of those is Metropolis.
Oh yeah,
from 1926, I think. All made during the Weimar Republic era, and Man, I mean, the whole, what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago with the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is also one of these German expressionist films, the sets, the music, everything, it is just very...
Fever dream.
Expressionist, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Expressionism.
It can be incredibly, you have scenes that can be incredibly beautiful, and you couldn't explain why they were beautiful. You didn't just have to say, like, you have to look at it to get it. And then you'll have a scene where you're going, WTF did I just watch? And not in a bad way, but you're just like, did I really see that? Or did I just press my hand into my eyes too tightly? And you know, when you have that weird, like, thing that happens if you do that behind, don't do that, by the way. It's not good on your eyes.
One of the things I've noticed between the difference between Phantom of the Opera and the other two films we've watched is the lack of subtitles, the lack of title cards.
Yeah.
The Germans don't use only about half the number of title cards that the Americans did. So you have to figure out things as you go along, and then eventually it'll fit in when they sandwich up a title card.
This one I thought was really interesting, the version that we saw, which we watched on YouTube, because they actually had the German speech and then they had the English
they showed both,
underneath,
which was nice,
which I thought was really interesting. You know, I really like that, because I have to be perfectly honest, my knowledge of the German language is bad. It's very bad, as in I don't have any.
Outside of Schadenfreude and Backpfeifengeschichte, I don't think you know anything.
And 9.
No.
I know 3 German words, and that's it. That's all of them. I'm very sorry to. Well, I
know
feel bad.
I know Schnell.
I feel badly about that, because I have German in my background.
You do. Your grandfather was German. Yeah.
You know, my maternal grandfather. Actually, the weird thing is, where my maternal grandfather grew up. When he was alive, that was part of Germany, but apparently now with all of the ways that the maps and things get all...
Yeah, now it's part of Poland.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm kind of whacked out about that.
Well, there was that huge wide swath of area that Germany called Germany, even when it wasn't really Germany, it was Hitler's Germany. So it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Anyway, let's get into this.
And this is the first film that we've dealt with that's dealing with something from folklore, because the figure of the Golem, which I'm assuming we're saying correctly, is a figure from the Jewish folklore. A golem is a figure carved out of clay that is brought to life via magic, usually by a rabbi, to protect the Jewish community.
What you said a minute ago, just to clarify, Golem is correct for this because Gollum is double L, which Gollum is the character from the Lord of the Rings, but in other folklores, double L is Gollum, single L is Golem. So this is Golem.
I'm just not sure where the pronunciation lies. That's my big thing. So if anybody out there who is...
it's not Golem.
No, I know, but anybody out there who is Jewish, if I screwed that up, I'm sorry to you too. The entire title of this film is The Golem, How He Came Into the World, or in German, Der Golem, wie in die Welt kam. And
nice try. Nice attempt.
Might have been okay. It might have sucked. I don't know which. The story it's actually kind of interesting, because this is actually part of a trilogy, which I didn't realize till we started doing this.
I didn't either. We looked this up afterward.
Yeah. This
is actually the final member of the trilogy, because the first two didn't survive.
No. The first one was basically the same story, but it was from 1915. And the second one was actually a short, and it was called The Golem and the Dancing Girl. The Golem and the Dancing Girl. So needless, and that was a comedy.
Right. And this one was actually a prequel to the 1915 version. Which, and they were all done by the same director.
Yeah.
So
yes, the same director who was also the person in the Golem costume.
Yeah.
Peter Wegner or Wegner.
Paul Wegner.
Paul Wegner, which I think that's how you probably pronounce it.
Wegner, yeah.
And boy, I feel bad for him, because that costume does not look comfortable at all. So the story begins in Prague, which is
medieval Prague, to be specific.
Medieval Prague,
in a Jewish ghetto.
Yeah,
we had to actually look up ghetto,
right,
to find out because we were like, what? That goes back that far?
Yeah,
and it does.
Yes, it does. That word is actually much older than I thought it was. So I was like, wow, I'm learning a crap ton of stuff with this movie. So this is in Czechoslovakia, which also now doesn't exist, because now it's the Czech Republic.
Yep.
This stuff hurts my head. Oh my gosh. I thought I finally got rid of all this when I graduated high school. Anyway, so the rabbi, who is the spiritual and also like the person that everybody goes to with not only spiritual problems, but also, day-to-day municipal issues and things like that. The rabbi's name is Rabbi Lowe, and he is reading the stars. He's doing, looking up into the heavens and, trying to divine things from the stars, which I was like, okay, that
I don't know enough about Jewish religion to know whether astrology plays into their ancient cultures.
No,
Obviously,
I don't either.
It doesn't
I'm
anymore,
sorry.
as far as I know.
I apologize for that myself because I'm a dummy and I don't know that very much about other people's faiths, and I should probably work on that as a personal journey. So he sees stuff in the stars that he's like, oh no, there's something bad that's going to happen. And it turns out he's not wrong. Because the emperor, who was the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, which was a pretty big deal back then, has decided that the Jewish people have to get out of the city before the next moon for a bunch of reasons. Most of the reasons are the same reasons that Jewish people have been persecuted for hundreds of thousands of years. You killed Jesus, therefore you suck.
Yeah.
Basically, that's,
Even though they were just doing the bidding of the Romans.
Yeah.
So,
So it's like, you killed Jesus, therefore you suck. You practice black magic, so you suck, so you got to go, is basically what gets written in this proclamation, where they're telling them that you've got to get out of our land, like, now. And it's given to this knight named Florian, who the second I saw him in the movie, I'm going, oh, please don't tell me this is our lead.
Yeah, he's not a knight, he's a squire.
Okay.
It's that Squire Florian. The knights are the guys with the male slit eyes and the hat.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Those suits of armor, I'm like, how do you fight in those? You look like you're stuffed in a mailbox. How is that supposed to work? So he's been given the task to ride to the ghetto with this eviction notice. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. So he shows up and he's a jerk. I'm sorry. I realize that's being very you're being biased.
I don't know if he's such a jerk as he is just self-involved. He's a complete narcissist.
He comes across as a complete ass clown. I'm sorry. He's very much a dandy. I wanted to take
He is a dandy.
I wanted to take that flippin' flower and just shove it up his right nostril. Oh my gosh, he has this flower and he's like swinging it around.
Twirling around like a necklace, like a woman would do a long pearl necklace.
Yeah, I'm like, dude.
It's really weird.
I'm like, dude, are you a flapper from the 1920s?
Yes.
Because it's like one of that.
Well, it was made in 1920.
I know, but I'm like, listen.
It is 101
buddy.
years old. It's a long time ago.
That's crazy. So he shows up with this, proclamation from the emperor that, hey, all you people have to leave. He winds up seeing and being attracted to Miriam, who is the daughter of the rabbi, who seems like a kind of flighty, silly type.
A bit of a flake.
Yeah, it's kind of a flighty, silly type, but not a bad
I
person.
suppose a lot of young people back then probably were like that. What else did they have to do?
What are young people like now?
Right.
They're teenagers. They're supposed to be like
she wasn't a teenager, neither was he.
No, I realize that, but I think the movie was supposed to intimate they were like younger people.
Young, 20s, early 20s.
Like early, I don't know, I thought like early to mid 20s.
Okay.
And they're sort of like, oh, I have my whole life in front of me, tra-la. That kind of thing. And... so Florian shows up and he's got his whole thing about, you got to leave, but hey, your daughter's hot. And the rabbi, tells him that, he's all like, what? My people can't be kicked out. We live here. And I've also gone to the emperor before and I've predicted things for him and they came true and all this stuff like that. And I read his horoscopes and, please talk to the emperor, tell him I need to speak with him because, he's trying to keep his people from being booted out of their homes, which is completely understandable. Now, also into all of this, there's also the assistant to the rabbi who also has a thing for Miriam. So we've got a love triangle as well in this. And personally, between the two of them, I'm like, you know, sweetie, I think you're going to be better off with the golem your dad's going to create, because Florian's a drip and the assistant is creepy. I'm sorry.
He does. He seems kind of lurchy. Leery. He leers a lot.
Yeah, he obviously has a thing for Miriam, and he's, you know, not real shy about showing it either. So the rabbi gets the idea that he's going to create this golem as a way of, you know, helping his people and keeping them safe. So that's what he winds up doing.
You know, now, what is that? What is that old saying? What fits in that old saying with this? Would it be the old man makes plans and God laughs?
Yeah.
Or be careful what you wish for,
because you just might get it. Yeah. Well, actually, in this case, man makes plans and somebody else is laughing, and it's not God. So Florian goes back to the Emperor, and the Emperor agrees to. He's like, okay, fine. Show up at our Rose Festival, and I'll have an audience with you then. So the rabbi and his assistant create this golem. The rabbi has to go to this special secret room, and they have to, and he like sculpts the golem out of clay. They don't mention what kind of clay or anything like that, because I guess it doesn't matter. So
he wouldn't have gotten his assistant involved, I don't think, except the assistant saw him coming out of his secret hidey hole.
Yeah, that's true.
Where he's been making this.
Well, he eventually would have needed his assistant, because
yeah.
that old man is not going to be lugging, I don't even know how many hundreds of pounds of clay around.
True enough, yeah.
Because this is not a delicate little dainty figure. This
thing is Andre the Giant.
For real. I mean, he looks like
a little bit shorter, but yeah.
He looks like he's about 7'5", maybe 7 feet. I don't know. He's tall. He's, you know, really tall. He's really wide. I mean, and I don't mean fat. He's a bulky. He's got Hulk Hogan's body and Andre the Giant's head and height and hair like a Lego figure. It looks like it's kind of snapped on, or it would snap right off. I don't, you know.
It's Ken hair.
Really, for
it's
real.
Clay Ken hair.
For real. That is not a lie. So the rabbi and his assistant go through this procedure to bring the golem to life. Now, this isn't just alakazam huzzah. This is, you know, very serious magic. Now, the point where I'm going, was when
they broke out the book.
Yeah, well,
Dr. Evil quotes.
Yeah, he's got, well, for one thing, he's got this one book that tells all this stuff about how they need to do this and all this stuff like that. And this book would be a deadly weapon. I mean, if you hit somebody with that,
it's like a Webster's Dictionary.
You could fracture somebody's
style
skull with that book. It was enormous. So he gets and that's just one of these books. Now he's got the other book that's called the Necro something, and I'm like, okay,
Necronomicon.
It's not the Necronomicon.
That's what it said.
Did it?
Yeah, it did.
All right. Well, I was like, okay. Well, anything that starts with necro, that's not going to end well.
I don't know. Tell Steve that. He uses his little Necronomicon to fix all of his records. And all of my friend Steve over at Value Vinyl on the vinyl community. Check out the KirkhamReport.com.
I'm sorry. I've read enough horror fiction and watched enough horror movies and such.
Because he's bringing records back to life.
Yeah.
That's why he does that. Okay, anyway.
You know,
even has a little animated demon that helps him.
Pretty much anything with the word necro in it, that's not going to end well. Okay. You know, that's not something they teach you in Sunday school.
Yep.
So the whole deal of how to bring a golem to life is that you have to go through this ritual. And what happens is you are given the word that is supposed to bring the golem to life. And you write it down on a piece of paper. And then you put the piece of paper in this little star thing, and you put it on the golem, and instantly it comes to life. I mean, there's no
it's instant. Yeah, it's instant.
It's not like Frankenstein. It's not like Frankenstein where you see the hand kind of move a little bit and it slowly raises up. It's just boom, I'm awake. It's like Red Bull for monsters or whatever. Some of the folklore I've seen, sometimes the word is supposed to be put under the golem's tongue. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that means you have to sculpt a mouth with like teeth and tongue and stuff. I'm like, that's disgusting. just...
Not to mention, how would you get it in there, Mr. Sacco?
I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that. I shouldn't think about it, and neither should you.
Sure I should. Somebody has to.
The rabbi goes through the procedure, and now the procedure is done in a circle. He's in this circle, and he tells his assistant, you have to get in the circle right now. Now, also, for those of you who don't know, children, this is Auntie Kim telling you another little bit of advice for life advice. If you are involved in something where you have to be in a circle or something you're summoning has to be in a circle, this isn't good. This never works out well for anybody because it usually means you're summoning something very powerful that will probably want to melt your face or whatever. As it turns out, that's what the rabbi, whom the rabbi is summoning, is a spirit called Astaroth, who is also in demonology. He is an Archduke of Hell. I'm like, okay.
Yes, she did look that up after. She's like, I know that. I've heard that.
He's a great Duke of Hell. And I'm like, okay. Because I'm like, I know that name, but I don't know why I know it. And then I looked it up. And I'm like, oh, that's why I know it. Oh, oops. I'm like, I don't think I should know that.
It could be worse. He could be the good Duke of Hell or the fair Duke of Hell, rather than that he studies the great Duke of Hell.
Don't do that. That's not funny. So,
sure it is.
So Astaroth, after being compelled to, gives the name, and the special effects on this are really cool.
They are. They're very well done for the 1920.
Freaking 20. It's like, wow. So he gives the name, the word, and the rabbi writes it down.
And it says, Coochie Coochie Coo.
No, it doesn't. It's
you don't want me to say it.
I don't want you to say
exactly.
it.
Exactly. So, Coochie Coochie Coo.
I mean,
anyway.
So he writes the word down and puts it on the golem, and it instantly comes to life. Badoom. We don't get that. We don't get that.
Oh, yeah.
Silent movie.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the thing that I'm kind of like, you're just so helpful.
I'm doing it silently. Shouldn't I be doing that? I don't have the little tinkle, tinkle, tinkle like they'd use in the Buster Keaton comedies.
No.
Okay, anyway.
Shut up. Anyway. So he brings the golem to life, and I'm like, okay, so now he's going to probably have the golem stand in front. I figured, okay, so now you've got the golem and it's alive, and you'll probably have it stand in front of the ghetto and stop anyone from invading or trying to keep the no, that doesn't happen. Nope. He's just using it as a servant. He tells people it's his servant and that he's mute. Mm-hmm. Huh?
Well, you have to come up with a cover story somewhere.
Well,
because people would freak out if they knew what it was.
Well, yes. Aren't people going to figure that out anyway? Because
they did. They eventually did.
It's not flesh-colored clay. So
we can't tell. It's a black and white movie, and it's got different tints to it.
Well, no, that's okay. Yeah. That's fair. But other than the fact that no one's ever seen this guy before, and boop, all of a sudden he's here, but he's mute and he's my servant. Okay, so
no, actually, the servant guy tells the shopkeepers that he's mute and he serves the rabbi.
Right.
Not, he's there. He goes with him
this
first day.
This is the rabbi's new servant.
Right.
I'm like, how does this help your job? You have to run around and tell him how to do stuff, But anyway, so Rabbi Lowe goes to the festival, and he brings along the golem, and the golem is, brought along to show the rabbi's power, that he can do all these amazing things. And the emperor is impressed, and his court is impressed. And he asks the rabbi to do other tricks. I'm like, the man brings life to lifeless clay, and you want to call it a trick? Buddy, a trick is making a rabbit come out of a hat. It's not bringing life to the non-life. That's, really. I'm like, that's really disrespectful, isn't it? I'm sorry. What?
It's not like you have a carrot and you just go presto.
It's like, okay.
Private joke. Anyway.
So the rabbi decides, okay, well, you want to see something else? I'm going to show you something else. But before he does it, he tells the emperor and the audience that once he starts this trick, quote, quote, that
Well,
they
I don't know.
can't-
You didn't have movie projectors or something back then. That was a pretty impressive trick to me.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't call it a trick. I'd call it a spell because that's what
a
it
spell.
is.
Okay, fair enough.
The fact that he's all like, "Oh, do us another trick," it's like, hey, I'm not pulling a string of handkerchiefs out of my mouth, or whatever. But seriously, he tells the audience not to laugh or speak, and then he winds up basically showing them a projection. I mean, in the air.
What looks like a projection.
I mean, yeah,
on the wall
of the flight of the Jews and the plight of the Jewish people, and you can tell that he's doing this so maybe it'll change the emperor's mind.
I think basically he's attempting to show the Exodus.
Yeah, he's showing what the Jewish people have been through, how they've had to go from place to place and stuff like that, and also shows him imagery of, I'm going to mess this name up, and I know I am. Ahasuerus, the wandering Jew. I probably completely butchered that, and if I did, I'm very, very sorry. I didn't mean to.
I guess it was Ahasuerus.
Ahasuerus, yeah.
My guess is.
If I mess that up, I'm severely sorry.
But we don't speak Hebrew, so it's a very Hebrew name.
Needless to say, the whole don't laugh or talk, that goes about as well as last week's show with the Phantom telling Christine, you can do anything you want, but don't take my mask off. So,
dun, dun, dun.
You can pretty much guess what happens. And stuff goes rapidly downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
So, we don't want to tell you the whole story because we want you to
this is a very easy movie to find,
Yeah.
and it is excellent, and it's definitely worth the time to watch.
Mm-hmm.
The cast was Albert Steinruck, R-U-C-K, with the umlauts, as Rabbi Lowe, Paul Wegner, the director, as the Gollum, Lida Samanova as Miriam, Ernst Deutsch as the unnamed assistant. We never did find out what his name was.
Creepy guy.
Yeah. Lothar Muthal as Knight Florian. In other words, the wussy flower twirling guy.
Yeah.
Otto Geber as the Emperor, Hans Strum as Rabbi Jehuda, or Jehuda.
Jehuda, I think would be right.
Which he is the elder rabbi. Max Kronert as the gatekeeper, Greta Schroeder as a lady of the court, Lonnie Nest as the little girl who appears near the end of the film, and Fritz Feld as the jester.
Yeah.
This film is really, really good and really fascinating to watch.
It's a beautifully shot film.
For 1920, you're damn straight it's a beautifully shot film.
So beautiful. Again, because it's expressionism, it's German expressionism, you don't have just a house which is four walls and a roof.
Right.
Although, unlike Caligari, where everything had that kind of off-tilted kind of, why is everything kind of weird and not looking right, and why is everything kind of like Dr. Seuss?
Which was done on purpose
acid.
for the plot of the film.
Right. This doesn't have that aspect to it, but it does have an aspect to, like, the houses aren't what you're used to, and a lot of it seems to be like you had mentioned to me that you were like, why does
the rabbis all seem to be living underground or in caves?
Yeah, they seem to be doing the rituals and things underground.
The
and in
people
caves
that
and
live
stuff
in
like
this
that.
little village are above ground.
Yeah,
but the
like
rabbis and everybody that's important are living in these cavernous network of catacombs and all kinds of stuff.
They have the ceremonies and things in secret, and you were saying, like, why do you think that is? And I was saying simply because that's could be viewed as looking at like from a self-preservation.
Yeah, I agree.
That you have people that were literally wanted to kill them for practicing their faith. So yeah, you're gonna do it. You're gonna have to wind up practicing your faith somewhere secret, if nothing else, just to save your life, your family's lives, stuff like that.
The Golem, How It Came Into the World, is the oldest film on the revered 100% Rotten Tomatoes list. It is, you don't find very many of those, and it is the only film from 1920 on the list, I believe. It was a massive hit around the world when it came out in 1920. It played to packed houses in New York City in 1921, where it ran for 16 weeks.
Wow.
And people were filling theaters on a daily basis, multiple times a day, despite the fact that they didn't have air conditioning. It was a hot summer, and they were in there watching it. It was a huge hit in Germany as well. But it was lost for a number of years. People had little, copies of it that were pretty poor, and then they found a copy in the late 1977 where it was restored for the first time. That version is not available on home video. There was a second restoration done in 2000, which is has a lot of the original stuff intact, and a third fully digital restoration was done in 2017. That version was released just last year on Blu-ray and DVD by Kino Lorber, which I'm going to get my hands on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I want to see all the extras and stuff because they put tons of extras on their stuff. I mean, this was when we started watching it, there was just silent, and there's no music at all.
Right.
The original music was lost. It was written by German Jewish composer Hans Landsberger, and it didn't get found until 2018. It is reconstructed for the newest release of the movie on video. So that's pretty impressive.
It is very. Karl Freund, who was the photographer and the cinematographer, he did the photography for this film. He also did the photography for Metropolis and also for the 1931 Universal production of Dracula. So this is obviously somebody that knew how to get incredible shots.
Yeah, the sets itself were designed very intricately too. The thing that got me the most as far as a set piece goes, like you have certain things in movies, like for mentioning Dracula, the giant staircase that goes up and out of the Abbey.
Right.
It's that spiral staircase inside of what looks. I mean, if you didn't know better, you're looking at it, you'd think it was a wasp's nest or a bee's or a beehive or something.
Yeah.
And it's impeccable. I mean, that was impressive.
It was,
because I didn't think they were able to do crap like that in 1920.
No, I don't
It's
either.
just pretty amazing.
It absolutely is. When we were watching the film and afterwards, we were talking, you and I, about like, a lot of people tend to compare this to Frankenstein.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up here in a second. So yeah,
The Frankenstein story, you know, the whole idea of someone creating a man and having everything go sideways.
it does have aspects of Frankenstein.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. But I don't think it's as much of a cut and paste kind of thing as some people attribute it to being.
I would agree with that. Yeah, there's a lot of other aspects of it that make it slightly different.
Especially the Universal version, because, you know, in the Universal version, you definitely have, you know, we know that Henry Frankenstein took, you know, body parts from this person and that person and the other, and all blah, blah.
And this is sculpted out of clay by one person.
This was never alive. It's at least the being that winds up becoming the Frankenstein monster is made up of parts of people that were alive at one point. This was never a living thing.
Yeah, and that's another good thing to point out about this film. Director Paul Wegener, who was inside the Gollum costume, manages to portray some really great emotions.
He really
without
does.
any vocal.
Yeah.
It's all facial expressions and body movements, and it is fantastic.
And no speech at all, because it doesn't speak. You know,
right? You don't see any speech. I don't even think you see it, you know, roaring like you would on Dracula. No, he just does what he needs to do.
Right. It's actually more like
it's the eyes.
Yeah, definitely. It's very wonderfully
100% the eyes. You get close up of the eyes, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's really well done.
I feel like it's more, if you're going to compare the Golem to something, I wouldn't compare it with Frankenstein's monster more than I would compare it with a robot. I would compare it more with a robot than I would Frankenstein's monster.
Well, you brought up 2001.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, because
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that. You know, but it's not quite that calm.
No,
when we get to that
it's
point
not.
of the movie. Of course, also Hal was not like physically. Wasn't like you could stand there and look him in the face.
Yeah.
As opposed to this thing, which you can tell. That's another thing when there are moments where you're going, oh, things are going to get real bad. You can tell from watching the face of the Golem. And there's one scene I want to bring up that I just think is so amazing, is the moment, and you can see it. I mean, there's nothing there, you know, nobody needed to put up a title card or anything like that. But that moment when it becomes self-aware.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful.
It's interesting,
It's moving. I mean, it's an incredibly moving moment when you go from I'm a thing to I'm a living thing. You know?
I think, therefore I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have, it's not even so much I think, therefore I am in this case. It's I feel, therefore I am. It's not thinking like.
In that way, it's the same. It's with the same retro. It's in parallel with Frankenstein again.
Yeah. Okay. I would.
Because it has little parallels with several different other characters and stories, and it does have certain elements that are connected that you can see and relate. The Gollum's look reminds me of the look on the Frankenstein monster face when he runs into Maria. Mm-hmm. So it's like, wow, okay.
It's just that moment when this being realizes I exist, I have worth, and I don't want to go back to being a blunt object. And
he started off as a household chore person, so it's a good thing that something else came of him.
Right.
Would have been a total waste of a demon's powers for that.
Well, see, that's the other thing. That's the part that I was like, are you serious? When we find out later on in the movie, there's like, oh, by the way, this, and this happens. I'm like, yeah, you might want to read a little further.
I thought you read Into the Stars. Didn't you see this coming, dude?
It's like,
really?
You maybe should have turned about 5 more pages in the book before you decided, hey, let's bring this thing to life.
He forgot the 7th homina.
And didn't carry the 2.
Damn it.
Poof, damn it. Another private joke. We miss you, Jen. I loved this movie. I thought it was so beautifully shot, and it tells an incredible story. And the figure of the Golem has appeared in other forms of media. I mean, which I think is so fascinating, because you might think, oh, this is something from, thousands of years ago or whatever. It's not relevant, but it really is.
It's interesting you should bring that up.
What?
There are a lot of different portrayals of the Golem out there, and one of them was from last year, or 2019, by someone our listeners are very familiar with. Theo Taplitz. Mm-hmm. He has an award-winning short called Gollum out there, Golem, and you can see it on his Vimeo page, and we have links all over the place to his Vimeo page, so if you haven't seen it by now, you have a chance. But it's a fascinating, it's animated, and it's only 2 minutes long, and it's freaking fascinating. He does some incredible work anyway, but to take that and basically mush it into modern sensibility was really interesting.
Right. I mean, I've actually, because we were both, role players from way back when. I mean, the campaign, the campaign where Ravenloft had like multiple different forms of golems in it, and there are different forms of golems in just the straight D&D. There's stone golems and flesh golems and things like that, and it's just such a fascinating idea that you have this being that. It's really weird, because you also have something really interesting with this film that I think that it doesn't really go. I don't know if it gets talked about as much with other people, but it's the whole idea that, when you think about it, the idea that, I'm going to go consort with demons and talk with them about how to fix something or make something happen. Now, if you do that, but you're doing it for the right reasons. If you're doing something wrong...
Are you doing a consorting with a demon for the right reasons at any time?
Well, hold it. See, that's where I'm going.
Okay. This should be good, folks.
No, I'm just talking about this movie specifically. The reason he's doing this is because he wants to prove to the Emperor that his people have power. So basically, I think he's really doing it so that the Emperor will leave his people alone.
Yeah, I know. That is why he's doing it.
So that's a good thing. But it's kind of the whole idea of, if you do something bad, or if you do something, if not bad, but if you do something questionable, let's go with questionable. If you do something questionable, but you're doing it because you want a good outcome that could benefit a lot of people, is what you've done, is that worth it?
This is another, like I said when we were watching this film, I hope this doesn't turn out to be where the good man trying to be a good guy ends up the bad guy. Right. Which he really didn't. But that there was other aspects that made you think he would. So it was interesting.
Yeah. It does seem like the way... the thing is, when you watch what he's doing to to create this being. He's real. I mean, it's weird. I mean, it seems weird to us because it's not something we know how to do.
Right.
But when you look at, if you look at other forms of magic and summoning and things like that in film and fiction and things like that, I'm just covering my own butt for anybody out there who happens to be a Wiccan. I'm not accusing you of anything. But if you go by media representations of summoning and things like that, it often involves killing an animal, or it involves killing a person or something like that, and that didn't happen with this film. He's just reading his book and doing and so it's
and
not
doing his whole accio whatever with his
standing in
wand.
the circle and do that whole rah rah
accio demon summoning, whatever it was.
And so that makes it a lot less worse than other media that I've seen where, it's like, well, I got to do this, here, bunny, or stuff like that,
Ew.
But it does bring up an idea. I mean, if you have to do something questionable to save your people, is that really a bad thing? And I don't think the answer is very black and white.
No, it's not.
And it's also
we know it's not very black and white. See the Loneliest Planet.
No, you're not going to get me on that one. I mean, it's
just not very black and white in that movie, and nothing is very black and white in that movie. They're both completely obsessed with themselves, and it's disgusting. Anyway, go ahead.
John Wayne wouldn't have acted like that.
No, John Wayne would not have acted that way.
Anyway,
don't trust this. Loneliest Planet, beautiful cinematography, award-winning from me for cinematography. That is the only thing that's worth it about that film. Do not watch it with a date, because you will end up fighting.
That is the anti-Valentine's Day movie. It's right up there with Fatal Attraction is what you should not bring a date to. Mm-hmm. But this movie, I think this movie is amazing, and I just really wish that more people knew about it.
Yeah, do you think, I was just thinking about this because I can't remember the title of the movie that we saw, but this reminded me a lot of that B movie that we saw at Attack of the B Movies with was it the Ancient American Aztec warrior that came back to life?
Oh, the Giant from the Unknown?
I think that's the one where he fell off the dam at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they got the inspiration for the way that character looked from this movie, because he looked a lot like this Gollum.
Okay, well,
the way it's the body style, the head style, everything about that movie has the same similar.
He's dressed as a conquistador. So
he is, but I'm saying it's still it's a similar design.
Oh no,
I wonder if that's where they got that from, because that was the first thing I noticed when I saw this when we were looking up and researching movies to do for this month. Is I'm like, this reminds me of that movie, and I'm like, wow.
The rest of it wasn't as good because that movie hurt.
Oh, I know that movie was.
I'd rather be flung down a flight of steps than watch
that movie was bad.
This movie, however, is great.
Yeah, like I said, it has 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. It is one of the most critically acclaimed films of all time, and deserves so. I'm going to go out and find the Kino Lorber disc of this, because I want to. Not only do I want to see it again on DVD, but I'd like to see it, and I'd like to see the back stuff and the behind the scenes stuff that they've got inevitably on that, because it's a fascinating film.
That costume had to be a bear.
I feel sorry. I mean, the director obviously believed in his stuff. This was the third project he did with this character, and
especially in that one shot, I really hope they had a mattress or something behind him in that one shot, because
he falls over a number of times in the film, and the one time he falls over, it just looks painful as all hell.
That guy was the best at, like, I don't want to say fainting, because it's not fainting. It's basically, you wouldn't call it fainting, because fainting is just,
it's a fainting goat faint. It's where they stiffen up and fall.
Yeah, basically when this thing.
That sounds weird, but that's what it's. Because
when you take off the talisman from it, it instantly shuts off. It's boop, boop, boop. It just goes boom, and the way the guy fell backwards, I was like, oh wow, that looks like it really hurt. I hope they put a mattress under you or something.
Not to mention the fact that if the director gave himself a concussion, they'd have to take 2 or 3 days off. That's not a good idea.
No. Although you think that Lego hair would protect him. Sorry, that's what it looked like.
The Gollum, how he came into the world. Check this out. It is fantastic. It's available. You can get it for free on YouTube. It's available for free on a few other streaming sites. It's probably downloadable from Amazon Prime or one of those. And it is available on DVD in a new Blu-ray edition from Kino Lorber from 2020. Before we get off here today, I thought it would be interesting to bring this up because we did look into this, and I was quite fascinated at the number of films that we have seen recently since our show has started that are on, and some of the ones, I mean, some of the classic stuff too, that are on the 100 Rotten Tomatoes 100 list.
Right.
These are films that still have a perfect score. In addition to the Gollum, that list includes, of the classic films that we've talked about on this show, includes Battleship Potemkin, Frankenstein, M, and a number of others from way back, Stagecoach, the original version of A Star is Born.
Maltese Falcon.
The Maltese Falcon, which I think is interesting because I would have thought that somebody would have found something wrong with that somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these critics, one critic just to knock its 100% off wrote a bad review of Lady Bird, which everybody loved, and he did it deliberately and he admitted it. So it's like, okay.
I'm sorry. You know what you are if you do something like that? You're a dick.
An ass hat?
Yeah, you're a dick. Don't do that. These are the kind of people that would have walked outside of Empire Strikes Back and shouted the spoiler, which I'm not going to do.
Seven Samurai, Old Yeller, A Night to Remember. I mean, a lot
Witness
of
for
these...
the Prosecution, which I've seen. Have you seen that?
No.
I love that movie. So
I Am
good.
Cuba, which I rented from one of the, I think it was Facets, and I never did get around to watching it. I mean, there's some terrific stuff on here. The Last Picture Show, which I thought was, I would never have put on 100% because it was really, I mean, we enjoyed going to see that. We saw it at the
cable car
cinema, which is no longer, it's defunct, in Providence, Rhode Island. And it was a great film, but there were some parts that were kind of slow that I don't think I would have given it a perfect rating, but it was still a great movie. Of the movies that we have seen since starting this show, there are 13 films that made that perfect 100. And if you've never seen any of them, these all have positive reviews from us and are worth watching.
Yeah.
And almost all of them are documentaries.
Yes.
There's Sita Sings the Blues,
Yes,
which is one of her all-time favorite films.
If you have not seen Sita Sings the Blues, why?
It's amazing. It's an amazing film.
You have to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's the only animated. No, it's the second two animated films on here. Last Train Home, which is the story of the crush of Chinese going home for holiday.
Yeah.
And I mean, she got claustrophobic watching that.
Yeah, trigger warning. If you have claustrophobia and if you have a fear of crowds, this
there's
one
a
might
million
be bad.
people plus wandering around on one train platform.
Yeah. So if you have a deal with claustrophobia or a fear of crowds, have a stuffy or something. Have a stuffed animal next to you to hug. Because...
An excellent film called The Square, which I saw. Kim did not. It's about the Arab Spring. Absolutely fantastic film. Also on that list, Rocks in My Pockets, the other animated film, which this is the one that I don't really agree with because we both gave it a kind of marginal review because of the length and because it was damn depressing.
Oh, it's so depressing.
It's really a great film, but it's a very depressing film. You have to look it up if you've not heard of it.
It's very powerful. It is very infuriating in certain parts, not because of the film, but because of the story it's telling. I can pretty much guarantee you after this film, you will want to eat an entire box of cookies or cake or pie or whatever is your comfort food.
And that was the first time you had ever seen a film at the Museum of Fine Arts, which I had been to see Tom at the Farm before that. There was also Sonita, which never got a full release in America.
I don't get why.
It was one of our favorite films at one of the Salem Film Fest one year. Amazing young I've forgotten. She's Iraqi, isn't she?
Believe so.
A rapper, a young rapper.
Yeah.
She's amazing, and she's still out there. For the Love of Spock, which is about Leonard Nimoy. Chicken People, which if you've never seen Chicken People, that surprises me that's on this list, and that's on the list. And Euro Dreams of Sushi is not.
If you are one of those people who says I've seen it all,
Chicken People,
and you haven't seen
trust
Chicken
me,
People, you haven't seen it all.
It is a great movie, and it is freaking hilarious. You will definitely want to see it.
Just as a side note, if you haven't seen Euro Dreams of Sushi, go see it. Do not watch it on an empty stomach.
No.
Because you will hate yourself, because you will want sushi right at that immediate moment.
Right. Older Than Ireland, which
I
loved. It was one of my top films of the year that year.
So sweet.
It's a documentary talking to septuagenarians about the forming that they were around before Ireland actually became Ireland. It was fascinating and killingly funny in places,
and very sweet.
And if you didn't see that, you should definitely look that up. The more recent films that we've seen that are on that list are let me find here, Bingley's marvelous movie Minding the Gap, which is ostensibly about three skateboarding friends, but there is a lot more beneath the surface.
It's a very compelling film.
It is beautiful, and I cried.
It is also another movie that you will go find your comfort food and eat all of it.
And it's also out on an exquisite Criterion collection with a ton of extras. And another film we just talked about last year because we watched it during the pandemic, Bathtubs Over Broadway, which is about corporate musicals.
Weird.
It's hilarious.
It is hilarious, but it is weird AF. I mean, it's just strange to think that they had all these really, well put together and well choreographed things for, like, Owens Corning and Ford and all these. It's just
it is
weird.
The most recent film that we've seen that's on this list is another great documentary we saw in Salem called Midnight Traveler, and that one will just make you so freaking angry. It's a great movie though, and don't skip it. Those 13 movies all are on the Rotten Tomatoes 100 list, and they're definitely worth seeing. I just wanted to bring those up because they deserved seriously, go find some of those, because if you don't have anything to do, if you're tired of, God forbid, you've already finished Squid Game and the new Stranger Things isn't around yet, and so on and so forth.
And you've watched the Batman trailer 85 times, so you can analyze every single thing about it.
Go find some of these films and Euro Dreams of Sushi, which is not on this list, but it's close. I think it's 96. It's up there.
There are so many films. I got to bring this up.
Sure,
because
you have time.
Before the pandemic hit, and if we haven't mentioned it so far,
we should have been watching movies during the pandemic galore, and we just didn't do it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we just couldn't bring we were just not able to do it. We're getting back into it,
and
now.
If we haven't mentioned it, get your shots. Still social distance.
And
wash
call your
hands,
grandma.
Call your grandma. No, it's fine. But
anyway,
if before the pandemic hit, we were lucky enough that we could go to the Salem Film Fest in Salem, Massachusetts, and it's so frustrating because we have seen so many amazing, incredible, awesome films that have made you laugh, cry, get sick, get angry. And the thing is, you try and tell people about them, and then you're like, what do you mean it hasn't come out yet? And oh my gosh, that makes me insane.
That's what film festivals are for. Thankfully, when it comes to Salem, so many of the good stuff that we have seen did come out in theaters, at least briefly. So needed to get a brief release. Midnight Traveler got a fairly wide release, and it was up for, I think it was nominated for an Oscar. Minding the Gap was a huge, it went national. Rich Hill, another great film that we saw there, was PBS, a monster. Yeah, that was on PBS, and it was also a national release. There's been so many great, I mean, let's be honest, unless there's something inherently interested that brings Kim's interest in, like doggies or food or bunnies or food or something, I can never get her to watch documentaries. It took me, I managed to get her to watch Bathtubs Over Broadway, and we've been glad ever since because it was freaking hilarious.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't like watching stuff about war.
But she didn't. No, I wouldn't ask you to watch those. But but you're the one that got me interested in Hero Dreams of Sushi.
Yeah.
Because I don't like sushi.
Yep.
And I love that film. That film is awesome. I've seen it like 5 times. It's awesome.
We've seen so many films from Salem Film Fest that were just. I've seen stuff that I've definitely seen things that were out of my comfort zone, and I really enjoyed them. Or I watched them and was like, okay, that's interesting. Hasn't really changed my mind about that subject. Or it's made me go, you know what? I really don't like that person. But you know, stuff like that. But it's that's the thing about documentaries. You learn something. Every documentary I've seen, I've learned something.
Yeah.
Whether it's something to my detriment or something to my improvement, that's an entirely, you know, whatever it is.
We could and probably should do a whole month about documentaries that we love, because we've seen enough. I love to watch them anyway, and I've been watching a bunch of stuff on record stores and record collecting because of Kirkham Report, and we should do some more of those because we've seen so many good ones.
I know.
And you, I mean, just Ian Chaney alone could take up a whole show.
Oh, I know.
Ian
Definitely.
Chaney is a wonderful filmmaker from Massachusetts who has done some great stuff that we have talked about over and over again, including my favorite of all of his films, The Search for General Show. Or is that his? Is that his?
I'm pretty sure that's one of his.
I don't remember if that's his or not. Go ahead. Anyway, he's done a whole bunch of
He's
really
done
good
some
things.
amazing films, including a film on light pollution. He just does this, you know, amazing work. And see, the thing about documentaries is that, you know, you can wind up going to see a documentary and you think you're just going to watch it and you're not going to get emotionally connected, that you're just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to watch this and, you know, or whatever. I've seen some documentaries, and now I admit I get very emotional about stuff, and I admit that. And whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's a me thing. I've seen some documentaries where I have been so effing angry that I literally want to just pick up my seat and tear it up out of the theater floor and just yeet it across the room.
Project Nem.
Yeah. Pretty much. Although,
my God, that was a mistake for both of us.
Yeah, but there's other movies that have made me that angry.
I still, to this day, would love to punch Herb Terrace right in the nose.
No,
I'm sorry, I would.
But there've been
Ian Chaney did The City Dark and the Search for General Show, and we did see Blue Space. It was the one film of his that I was not terribly enamored with, But
we've seen so many other documentaries where it's been just opened up your mind about stuff and opened up your mind about things that I never heard of or never thought of doing or trying or whatever. And that's an amazing thing when you learn something and you're like, whoa.
You wouldn't be eating the fugly fish.
No. No.
If you want to know what that is, go see City of Gold featuring the late Jonathan Goldman, who was food critic for the Los Angeles Times. Great movie. He passed away now, but
there was a scene where I almost threw up in my purse.
It was dicey.
I mean, we learned from watching documentaries. We learned that there is actually typewriter competitions where people do speed typing. Oh, I'm sorry.
There is a documentary about that, but we haven't seen it.
No,
It's actually on the 100. We saw Populaire, the movie it was based on.
We've seen documentaries about crossword puzzle competitions.
Wordplay. Yep.
You know, we've seen documentaries about the fact that there are people out there who actually take their dog and they these people take their dog and they cut the dog's hair so they can make pictures on the dog. And it sounds like the dumbest thing you've ever heard in your freaking life.
I've forgotten the name of that. What was the name of that?
Well Groomed.
Well Groomed. That's from 2019. If you haven't seen that, please look it up.
Honest to God, sounds like the dumbest thing you've ever heard. And then you see that these people they're serious about this.
Yeah.
And
it is continuing to grow as a major animal competition sport.
No kidding.
Which is just terrifying to see, the Leaning Tower of Pisa and the Eiffel Tower poofed up out of your poodle's hair.
Yeah, you see a poodle that's got Yoda spray painted on his side or whatever, and it's just
all with dog safe paints.
Yeah, dog safe paints, and the dogs. I mean, none of those dogs look miserable. You would think
they
the
don't
dogs
seem to be
would
bothered
miserable,
by it
but
at
they
all.
Seem to be totally
considering
fine.
all their dog friends are going. I mean, it's like
really.
Okay.
You know that's never going to happen with cats because someone would lose a finger.
Yeah.
If you tried that with a cat, people would be losing eyes left, right,
And when it
center.
comes to documentaries, the cats don't really do them, but you can check out the annual cat festival, which is out every year. We got to get out of here. Thank you for listening. American Scream, a great Halloween documentary.
Yes.
Although it's no longer relevant because the one thing was set at Silver City Galleria, which is no longer there. But it is a great film. So check that out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah,
it's about Halloween haunted houses.
Speaking of Halloween and haunts and stuff like that, Jacob,
Carpetbagger,
now that it's haunt season, he's going to all kinds of haunted houses. So check him out on YouTube. He's
at the Carpetbagger on YouTube or the carpetbagger.org on his website.
Yeah, and also.
Just a clarification, he's not paying us for this announcement, but I am a Patreon.
We're just doing it because we think he's cool.
Yeah, he is awesome.
And to talk about real quick things that aren't there, we do know, thanks to a drone shot, that the tearing down of our local cinema has actually happened, which sucks.
Yeah, we brought that up last week, I believe.
Pour one out for Showcase Cinemas Revere.
And thank you to the dude from Saugus that shoots all those top-notch aerial drone shots.
Yeah, we saw so much there.
I really didn't need to see that, but, it was there.
Yeah.
Don't forget to keep in touch with us. Please email us if you like or have any suggestions. We're looking for your ideas on what we can do. subjectcinema@PNRNetworks.com.
Yeah.
Follow Kim at...
PlatinumRoselle at Twitter.com, and you can also email me at PlatinumRoselle@Yahoo.com.
And you can follow me at eCinemaOne and TKR Online on Twitter. And, of course, don't forget our Facebook page, Popcorn and Letter N and Popcorn and Roses. You can still get to us over there. Don't forget to check out my video stuff over at the Kirkham Report, which is TKR Video Central on YouTube and the KirkhamReport.com online. We were supposed to have an episode of Ring Around the Rosie up last week.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to get done this weekend either.
No, I have to get back into it. I know I do.
Yes, you do.
Well, let me know you miss me. Tell me you miss me.
That
Tell
will
me you
be
want me
coming
back.
soon, and hopefully you'll be doing that. And I'm going to be doing we're both going to be doing some newer stuff in about a month or two as we get things kicked off into our next stage of this new growth period we're going through. And I hope that you will watch for that. Is that everything?
I think that's it.
All right, then let's get out of here. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. We'll have another silent scream film for you next week. And don't forget, in 2 weeks on Halloween, we will definitely be doing a real classic when we will tackle Nosferatu. Next week, we should try to do Halloween Kills also. Haven't got a chance to see it yet, but hopefully we will see it this week.
Yep.
In any case, until next time for Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
TTFN.
Bye now.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNR Networks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema is copyright 2021 from PNR Networks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, we'll see you at the movies.
Years, blowing the doors off the competition, podcasting to planet Earth.
PNRNetworks.com.